This is just a thought, but what if there were less people and more cats? I think the world would be a better place, don't you? This is actually my girlfriend's mug. She got it for Christmas, but I've kind of stole it slash adopted it because I really like it and I like big drinks. So it holds a lot of coffee, which is great for days like today. Making videos like this. We're inside today because it's Good Friday, but ironically I'm feeling rubbish. But so apologies for the sniffles and low energy, but I wanted to make a video today. I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to get out, and quite excited about today's video and a little nervous because it's quite a vulnerable video. But like I say, it's something I've been wanting to make for a while. But I've got some notes here on my computer so I don't get too distracted because my ADD brain is going to just go off on tangent. So bear with me, or don't. It's up to you. But I don't have a open door policy. I have a no door policy. So you either kind of want to be here or you don't. But I digress. Yeah, this video is kind of like, these kind of videos in general on my channel are kind of like therapy videos. Like everybody bangs on about journaling, and that's fine, you know, you do you. That works for some people, but for me, it's talking out loud to myself. Usually I do that in the van on the way to or from work, just kind of get my thoughts out, verbalise them and talk to myself. And people probably think I'm crazy, but you know, that's my version of journaling, and it works for me. So this today, instead of talking to myself, I'm talking to you fine people. But this video is also kind of a follow-on from my last video about dropping the mask and showing your colours. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. Just lounging here in my dressing gown, just chilling. But unfortunately, there's no cool music, no lip syncing, no cows. So, I mean, we have cats, they sleep on the bed over there. So, I'm probably not going to edit this video either. I'm just going to yap for about an hour and then just post it. Okay, maybe not an hour. Try and keep it to like maybe like under half an hour. But I was going to make one long series about neurodivergence and all the subcategories underneath it, but that would be like a 6-hour video, so I'm not going to do that. So today I just want to focus on OCD and obsessive compulsive disorder versus addictive personality. And just as a disclaimer, I'm not trained or licensed in any way, shape or form to talk about the clinical definitions and all that shiz. I'm just talking about the words and my own personal experiences. So take that for what you will, for what it's worth. But yeah, let's dive into it. I want to talk about OCD and money and their connection as it manifests or manifested in my own life. So I don't know whether I have OCD in the clinical definition, because I have a friend who is probably going to watch this who he definitely has OCD, kind of the OCD where like he will lock his front door and then just check it like 5-6 times, just keep going back, checking it. And I've watched him do this sort of on a few occasions, but he's a great guy. I love him loads, but I've actually watched him do this, and it's really interesting to watch it in real life, in real time, something like real OCD. So I haven't got it that bad. The kind of OCD I'm talking about, I'm going to break down the words so it's kind of my own kind of definition of it. because in the past I've definitely had obsessions and compulsions to engage in those obsessions, and it's definitely created disorder in my life, especially around money. Um, so when you put all those three together, it's kind of OCD. Like I say, not probably the clinical definition, but my own weird Chris version. Maybe it should be obsessive Chris disorder, not obsessive compulsion disorder. But yeah, I digress. um, so yeah, I have a very complicated, toxic relationship with money. I'd say, stemming way back into childhood. Um, I've definitely experienced and accumulated a lot of trauma around money over the course of my life, starting way back in my school years. But that's a long story, different video. Won't get into that. Um, but I definitely have a love hate relationship with money. A part of me loves it, because obviously money can be great, and then part of me hates it because obviously money can be money can be anything really, a bit like humans. And people will say, well, money is just a tool, like it's just it's a neutral thing, and it's just a tool. That's kind of true on its own, um, and it's something I've been trying to tell myself for like forever. But um, it's only this morning, really, that a kind of penny dropped, really, and it's kind of like, even though it's kind of true, it's not the whole story, is it? Because money is a tool, but it's something that was invented by humans for humans, for us to interact and transact with each other. So you can't have money in isolation, in a vacuum. Like, you have to, because it's used by humans, you have to add in everything that it means to be human, which is everything from philanthropy all the way down to like greed and envy, and the spectrum in between, and even like traumas as well, and generational traumas, like how our parents experience with money, and our grandparents experience with money. It all gets passed down the generations along with everything else, not just like money, but how like relationship styles, and how we relate to other people, how we deal with emotions, and all that's kind of passed down and subconsciously learned when we're kids, and we learn it from our primary caregivers. So you have to, you can't just say it's a tool and it's neutral, because that's not the whole story. It's a bit like saying food is neutral, because food's just energy. It's just a calorific source of energy that we need to consume to survive. Which, yeah, I suppose like the scientific definition, that's kind of true. But it's like, that's not really helpful to somebody who's struggling with an eating disorder. And it's the same with somebody who's struggling with anything. Like, it's not really helpful just to give generic definitions and try and like whitewash things. So like, if you're like always struggle or have difficult relationship with money, saying, oh, it's just a tool and it's neutral, well, yeah, that's kind of true, but that's not helpful, is it? Like, how does that help anybody? And like I say, same with food, saying somebody who's, I don't know, maybe obese or bulimic or whatever, saying, oh yeah, like food's just like neutral, it's just what we have to eat, you know. It's not. It's like, there's there's so many layers that are involved, and all the aspects of being human. I mean, saying things are just tools is like it's a, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but we're not, humans are emotional creatures. We interact with the world on an emotional basis. We're not logical. That's what I was trying to think of. my brain's not working at 100% today. I don't think it ever works 100%, but yeah, like to give like a logical definition of saying these things are just tools, like humans aren't for the most part logical, or we're not just logical, we're emotional creatures too. So you can't just take one side of the story and just whitewash everything and say, well, it's just this. It's not black and white. It's very complex, and it's the same with like it's like saying a gun is a tool, and a gun is just a tool. It's neutral, and it's about the person who kind of is in control of that gun. Which again, yeah, that is true, but guns and weapons exist for a reason. You know, humans created them to interact with each other. Again, and when you add these tools, whether it's money or guns, into a human society, into a human world, look at what you get. You know, you don't need me to tell you. Like, just look out into the world, look out at the world. You know, that's what you get when you add guns and money. You get rap music. Lord help us. Yeah, but actually, not to be offensive, but we technically have to wait till Monday because Jesus resurrects on Easter Monday, doesn't he? So hopefully this will be the year that comes and, you know, sorts our shit out and does save us all. Not that I'm religious, but, you know, I wouldn't say no right now to Almighty Saviour. But I digress. So let's talk a little bit about OCD now, obsessive compulsive disorder. I think I've had that, or my own version of it, since childhood. Like, just thinking back over my life, the different like obsessions and compulsions I've had. Like, even as a kid, when I used to have my paper round, I I used to like obsessively save like 20p coins. So I'd have this old sweet jar, and it was like a plastic sweet jar, one of the big ones with the lids. And I'd put a hole in the lid, and then I'd tape the lid shut, so it's like a money jar. But I'd only collect 20p's, and the reason was because it's saving for my family holiday, and we used to go on caravan holidays, and where we used to stay, there was always like arcades and machines where like little machines where like you put like the 2p's in, and then it kind of you get like the slides. If you've ever seen the show Tipping Point, it's basically like that, but like on a smaller scale. But like that's I just used to obsess. Didn't collect just loose change or 2p's or whatever. It was literally just 20p's. I don't even know why actually at the time because it doesn't really make much sense. But um, I just had this jar full of 20p's, and then that would be my spending money for when we go on holiday. So yeah, it was that was kind of one. Oh, hello Malfoy. That is Malfoy's tail. Do you want to come and say hello, Malfoy? That's actually a good opportunity to have a little coffee break. But another thing I used to do was when I got a real job, when I started my apprenticeship painting and decorating, and I used to have this before like internet banking and everything, like 20 years ago. I used to have like a building society savings account, and I had this little book, and I was just like obsessed with like saving. Like I used to save like £50 a week, and I used to love. It used to be like a little ritual. Like every week Friday, I'd go down to the bank, take cash out the cash point, and then go straight to the building society and um, put my little £50 away, and then stamp it, and then I'd see it build up over the weeks and months, and yeah, that was kind of a bit of an obsession as well. And I eventually saved enough to buy a house, which later I ended up selling, which was a massive mistake, but you know, it is what it is. And then yeah, like just going through, like in my late teens, I used to have an obsession with Warhammer gaming, Warhammer 40,000. You can Google that if you don't know what it is. It's like a tabletop game. But the weird thing is, I never played it. I played it like 3 times in my life, but I loved collecting and painting the little figurines. So I'd spend like, I'd save like £50 a week of my money, and then like another £100 because I earned about £200 a week, and then I'd spend like £80, £100 a week just on like paints and brushes and like little figurines that I'd use to paint, and I just like love painting them and just be obsessed with them. And it's very rare I actually use them to play the game. Um, I just like collecting them. And it was the same with there was a card game called Magic the Gathering. That was the same. I used to love collecting those cards. Um, and later on, I mean, I've always kind of loved dog racing and horse racing, but like when I got a bit older into my early 20s, probably even late teens as well, actually, because I've always loved horse racing. We always used to have a bet on horse racing growing up. Um, on the Grand National Day, we always used to pick out horses, and my dad would go and like put a bet on for us, and it was one of my favourite days of the year. Um, a lot of For a good number of years, that was my favourite day of the year. Was Grand National Day because it was like a family thing. Like my brothers, sisters, mum, dad, we'd all pick out horses, and my dad would go and put the bet on, and then we'd go and we'd watch the race, and it absolutely brilliant. Um, and then when I started betting on horse racing on my own, but the thing I loved the most about it was all the kind of researching into like the horses and the jockeys, and like the distances at the race and the weights, and like all the different nuances that you could delve into. I used to write them all. I'd have my favourite horses where I'd write them all down, and like the type of ground that they're like running on, whether it was like heavy or like hello Malfoy, or whether it was like heavy ground or soft ground or whatever, or like which depending on which jockey was riding him and all that. And I just loved going into all like the granular details and like trying to pick out who would win the race, and that used to be more rewarding than actually winning the money. Um, and anyway, I ended up losing loads of money betting on horse racing, but that wasn't actually the reason I ended up stopping. It was when I eventually went vegan. I started looking into the horse racing industry and greyhound racing industry and what happened behind the scenes, and I just couldn't support it anymore. Because obviously, what you see on TV is not what the whole story is, and obviously, when you're betting on horse or dog racing, you are supporting that industry. So I just couldn't, even though I still kind of loved horse racing in a way, I just couldn't, in good faith, like support it anymore. It just clashed with my new set of morals and ethics. So that was ironically the thing that stopped me um, from betting on horse racing. And now I couldn't even tell you anything about horse racing. And same with football, really. I kind of moved on to football and betting on football, and I just get like obsessed with like all the stats. I just love stats. So like all the like how many goals the away team would score, or like if they were better at home or away, and like what players were in form, and just like 20 different like variables I'd look at before I actually even picked a team to place a bet on, before I even placed the bet. And so like that was like the whole kind of, I just loved the research and all that kind of researching all the details, and it was so rewarding when it actually paid off, even though like it rarely did, because I mean like even like when you're betting, like you're gonna lose over the long run anyway. Even if you win, you lose in the end. But I got fed up of losing in the end, and it kind of overtook took the joy out of it, like, because I kind of wasn't as good as I thought it was. Even though I loved the all like the data side of things and the stats, like the game's not played on stats. It's not like a computer simulation. It's like played with real human beings, and there's so many variables. And in the end, I kind of discovered that the stats and that kind of did kind of not really give you an edge, but kind of they did matter, but not as much as not they didn't have as much weight as I used to give them, um, which is evident because I didn't win that many bets. And in the end, once I kind of realised that, it was like, oh well, this is kind of not really very rewarding anymore. So then I moved on to other things, like stocks and shares and cryptocurrencies and all sorts. And yeah, so and just it's always the same pattern where you kind of just get obsessed with it, and you just kind of look into all the details, try and find the edge, and like see if you can make some money on it, and you never end up doing that. So in the end, it's just like, you know what, just no, just no. But all these kind of patterns and stories it's like I've had these obsessions which I've felt a compulsion to put resources into, um, and then subsequently it's created disorder in my life. Whether that, whether those resources are money, time, energy, focus, um, and then the resulting disorder could be financial disorder, emotional disorder, physical disorder, even spiritual disorder. When it comes down to things like the ethics of horse racing and things like that. If I went against my code of ethics to kind of bet on horse racing, that's spiritually damaging. Um, so yeah, it's like it's kind of a weird kind of OCD. I don't know whether it's OCD or addictive personality. What the difference is between the two, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know enough about it. I'm just talking about my own kind of experiences throughout my life. But it's the same. It's the same with like interests and hobbies as too. Like I've had phases being obsessed with like doomsday prepping and like conspiracy theories, and although I do think everybody should go through a conspiracy theory phase, you shouldn't stay in it, but you should go through it. Very eye opening. But yeah, minimalism, like spiritualism, veganism, self development, you name it, I've probably had an obsession about it and had like a compulsion to put resources into it. Like I say, not always monetary, but like time, focus, attention, things like that. So going down rabbit holes and losing hours, sometimes days or months, just losing yourself in these things. And not all of it's bad, like a lot of these things that I've been obsessed with, like even after the initial obsession has waned and I've kind of moved on to the next shiny object, things stick. So like obviously veganism, I've got quite a few years of veganism under my belt. Although at this precise moment in time, I wouldn't class myself as vegan just because I do eat a certain brand of eggs. Um, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. But that's stuck over the years. My spiritualism, self development, that's kind of stuck. I'm not to the same degree as I was, but that's definitely stuck. Same with like the minimalism, and other obsessions I've had. There's like things which I've kind of took from them and then integrated and then moved forward. So it's not always like bad, even though like the definitely comes with its struggles. But not all of that is down to the like the obsessions. I don't think. I think it's just sometimes some people are just built or wired a certain way. That's why I'm kind of like tuning from him from OCD, because that's kind of like a wiring issue. Whereas like a addictive personality, that's more on the side of a dopamine dependence. You kind of created, because that's what addiction is. You create a dependence on dopamine, and once you deplete your levels of dopamine, you have to engage more to release the same amount, and it's just a spiral. Dr. Andrew Huberman has a lot of good work on this. He can speak much more eloquently and intellectually about it than I can. But yeah, I think addiction and addictive personality is more on the um, physical side of things, as in it's like a physiological dependence or dopamine issue, um, and OCD is more of a wiring issue. So like it's kind of like that's just the way your brain's wired, and I think there is a crossover between the two. I think you can have both, and also I think I've read somewhere people with ADHD slash ADD, or even like neurodivergent people in general, are more susceptible and um, not predetermined, but kind of have a precognition. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but like a a more susceptible brain chemistry that's vulnerable to addiction and addictive behaviours. Um, I definitely have to do a lot more research on that, but I've definitely seen things on that. But yeah, it's all kind of fascinating stuff that I'm still kind of. I definitely got better as I've gotten older, learning to work through because as the more cycles you go through, you see the patterns more, and you be like, oh, this is the same as that, and that's the same as that, and it's just like the same cycle with a different thing. I mean, still dealing with like the fallout of some of these things, and I suppose everybody's, nobody's perfect. Everybody's kind of got their one thing that they're trying to like work on or work through, or multiple things. But yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to talk about today, and get your guys' feedback on that. And yeah, if you have any of your own thoughts or own experiences that you wanted to share in the comments, I'd love to hear them. I'll read them all and we'll respond to them all. And if you can relate to anything I've said in this video, I've currently managed to keep it under 30 minutes, which is absolutely fucking miraculous. I thought it was going to be like an hour long. But yeah, let me know what you guys think and what you think of these indoor videos, because my next video is already recorded and will be coming out soon, which will have more cool music, lip syncing, and cows and a ball. But that'll be out maybe next week. But yeah, I'll probably do more of these indoor ones just because it's a lot more. There's no editing. I can just talk half an hour like I've done today and then just upload and then it's job done. Where the videos take a lot of time and effort to kind of edit and work through, and yeah, they're a lot of work. But these ones I can just record and get up really quick. So let me know what you think of these. I'll probably do this. Might be like a little bit of a series about neurodivergence, which basically neurodivergence just basically means your brain is wired differently, and it's not typical, like you're atypical. So that includes things like ADD, ADHD, OCD, like autism, or those kind of things. So I might do like a video on each of those things. I don't have all of them. I might have like little bits of each one, but I think this is the main one I wanted to talk about because of the crossover and the how like it specifically relates to um like an issue of mine. So I just thought it kind of like married really well. Um, so that's why I chose OCD for the first one. But let me know what you guys think. I've rambled enough. And do you guys want to say goodbye to Malfoy before I go? Malfoy. Hello. Well, and say hello to YouTube. Say hello to the people. There's Malibu asleep on the bed. Say goodbye. What are your thoughts, Malfoy? What are you thinking? You're thinking it's lunchtime, aren't you? That's what you're thinking. Right. See you like this. See you guys later. Peace.